accompanied by his mom. And Dan Fenton. He branched infantry and will be coaching at JBLM Washington. Next up is Bill Bolt from St. Louis, Missouri. Accompanied by his parents, Tom and Laura Bolt, he branched infantry and will be posting at Fort Wayne Roy. Next is Lee Squirrel Cooper from Point Oregon.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 2, 1.
He branched
Ceremony started.
Matt DeFrey from San Diego, California, accompanied by his parents Ron and Toby DeFrey. He branched aviation and will be posted at Fort Knox. University from Modesto, California, accompanied by his parents Jeff and Sandy Durst. He branched infantry and will be posted at Fort Johnson, Louisiana. Next up is Johnny Haley from Los Angeles, California. He is accompanied by his parents Paul and Maria Haley. He branched armor and will be posted at Fort Tavasos, Texas. Next up is TNT Moscone from Canyon Lake, Texas. He is accompanied by his parents Tracy and Louis Moscone. He branched infantry and will be posted at Fort Johnson, Louisiana. Next is Pat O.G. Oglesby from Breesville, Georgia, accompanied by his parents Jacinta and Patrick Oglesby. He branched Signal Corps and will be posted at Vilseck, Germany. Next is Lucas L.B. Pattinson from San Juan Capistrano, California, accompanied by his parents Mariella and Mark Pattinson. He branched infantry and was posted at Fort Drum, New York. Next is Bad Ricky Richards from San Francisco, California. He's accompanied by his dad Dave Richards. He branched infantry and was posted at Fort Wainwright, Alaska. Next is Jack Nutt Simpson from Ridgewood, New Jersey. He's accompanied by his parents Ed and Karen Simpson. He branched Cyber Corps and was posted at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Next is Shane Sunday from Phoenix, Arizona. He's accompanied by his parents Todd and Connie Sunday. He branched infantry and was posted at Fort Drum, New York. Last but not least is Don Tiago from Pembroke Pines, Florida. He's accompanied by his parents Ozzy and Andrea Tiaga and his girlfriend Audrey Anders. He branched infantry and was posted at Fort Liberty, North Carolina. Please join us in celebrating our seniors.
This is the United States Military Academy. This is Night Vision on the Army West Point Athletics YouTube channel. This afternoon, the Army men's rugby team hosts the Griffins from the University of Guelph. Welcome to Shea Stadium, everybody. I'm Nikolai Busko. Thank you for joining us. You're probably wondering why we are here and not at Anderson Rugby Complex. To give everyone a bit of an inside look into what's happened here, this season for Army Rugby really began back in July and August when we had a millennial flood in the area that led to the loss of life of someone in the village that borders West Point Highland Falls and caused extensive damage on post. And Anderson Rugby Complex was one of those places that had to absorb a great deal of damage, and heroic stories being told about the cadets, some of them you've seen here being honored during Senior Day today, by hand, helping preserve every corner of the game field. The turf field in Anderson, from what I understand, is still not repaired, but Because of the condition of the field at the start of the season, it's been an uphill battle, literally, to keep it in good enough shape to play on a consistent basis. And with how chewed up the field was last week with Army's big win against Cal, well, we shouldn't be surprised. I wasn't totally surprised when I showed up this morning at about 10 o'clock and they told me, yeah, we're over here today. And this is not the first time this season that the rugby teams at West Point have played at Shea Stadium. You may recall that the boys from Trinity College Dublin played Army here, and the Army women had to play against Dartmouth the next day back in the fall. So we'll make do what we have here, even though I'm sure the last thing people expected today was a 50-yard line there. Speaking of last week's game, Army with a huge win against Cal. Never happened before, and I'm sure that for Matt Sherman, it was a big deal for him personally as head coach because not only did he play at Cal, but he's also a California guy. You figured he'd seen everything but Army. Coming up with a huge win last week. Dom Tianga scoring twice to lead Army over Cal, 27-14. Again, the first ever win against the Golden Bears. Nathan Gould scored an insurance try in the second half, which I thought was going to be the Army West Point Athletic Association play of the week, but there were other things to happen along the way to negate that. But Nathan Gould, the beauty of rugby, scoring off of his own foot, a kick to himself. Johnny Haley scoring 12 points with his foot as well. No one scored in the final 22 minutes of the match as Cal struggled with cold and muddy conditions on the field. It's the first match for Army since losing against Navy back in November on the final kick. They come to this game 4-4-1 of the year. What did Dom Tianga say after the game? We won this game in honor of our recent fallen brother. The brothers made him and the whole legacy of Army rugby proud. For those who missed the broadcast of the Rugby Network, who is this brother, you might ask? Chief Warrant Officer 3, Stephen R. Dwyer Jr., West Point class of 2009. He died in November when his helicopter went down over the Mediterranean during refueling training. It happened as Steve was deployed with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment out of Fort Campbell. You may recall, if you watch West Point close, you may recall that the story, ESPN Game Day ran on him just hours before this year's Army-Navy football game. And there was a wreath laying involved by Cal. So I would imagine that there was a lot of emotion even before kickoff, and Army was clearly juiced from the get-go. Who are these guys from Guelph? Well, firstly, if you don't recognize the name, that's okay. They are from Canada. The Griffins are coming off a fall to remember. They destroyed the regular season competition of the OUA and won all 6 games in the regular season by an average margin of 53 points. They beat Lower and Queens in the playoffs to go to the Canadian University Men's Rugby Championship. They beat Trinity Western in the quarters, but lost to UBC in the semifinals. For those unfamiliar with the program at the University of British Columbia, UBC in Canada, I think, is what Cal is here in the States. That is the gold standard. So no shame in losing to UBC. But Guelph was able to beat Memorial from St. John's for the bronze. And this year's bronze was the second one in as many years for Guelph. The Griffins have appeared at the championship event every year since it began in 2017. In fact, the Griffins hosted the first Canadian University Men's Rugby Championships that year. Now you're going to ask, where is Guelph, Nick? Well, Guelph is in Ontario. I know some of you are saying, well, Nick, that helps. Yes, it is part of the Greater Golden Horseshoe in South Ontario, 50 miles west of downtown Toronto, left east of Kitchener. And Kitchener begins the area of Kitchener, Waterloo, from the game against Cal that again aired on the Rugby Network. You can see that the field was not in great shape for a lot of that game. Johnny Haley was able to score a bunch of points in that game, but I'm sure even with the tee, it wasn't all that comfortable because you got to plant your foot to. It's not just kicking off the tee. Army was able to go in front early, though, on Haley's kick, which, again, was not an easy one. You see, it came right from the 22, and Army was out in front by a score of 3-0. Then off of a line-out, Army just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Cal did not defend poorly in this game, but Army was able to make some plays and able to build an early lead as the Black Dice just try to overpower Cal. These are not conditions that Cal used to play in, of course. It is a very difficult thing to come in from the other side of the country and play in an environment where you normally don't have this type of a mud pit. And again, they did everything they could to keep the field in great shape, but I think the accumulation of everything that's happened in the last few months made it very difficult for that field to stay in shape. Then we get towards the end here as the ball was spilled free, as Cal was able to score to get cut into the Army lead again. As the Golden Bears certainly showing their resolve, their resiliency. You may recall they got to the national championship last year where they lost to Navy in what was basically an eclipse-like event where the midshipmen were able to get the last score and win that match. Cal building towards that championship caliber again. As at that point, the score was 10-7 as Cal was continuing to knock on the door. They felt like they had all the momentum in the world to make sure that they could continue on. But Army kept their foot on the pedal of the tank, and they kept moving and moving and moving and moving. And finally, they were able to score again. Tiaga coming back with another try to make it 17-7 at that point, as the Black Knights were in tremendous shape at that juncture. Cal was not sure, I'm sure, what hit them in that instance. You just see the strength that's required to play the sport. As Dom Tiaga was able to dot down as we're interrupted because here come the cadets. Senior Day here at Shea Stadium. The seniors who have given so much to this program. They've won a national championship. They've set new standards for the program. They have given so much, as you see the visitors from Guelph get ready for this contest as well. I am certain the last thing they expected was to be here on a football pitch today, but here we are as Army and Guelph are getting ready to do battle. It is Army's final home game of the season, presumably. Guelph, no real competition since that third-place finish in the national championships. For those who've never seen a game here, yes, it is customary to have the bagpipe music playing. They certainly play it loud around here when this team takes the field. Again, Guelph, a member of the OUA, not that far away from Toronto, out towards Kitchener, what you believe is a hometown of legendary NHL defenseman Scott Stevens. We step back now as we honor two great nations who are working together and helping the unity today through a great sport.
Please stand and remove your caps for the playing of the Canadian national anthem. Please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem of the United States.
If people in Canada follow West Point closely, they know that this year we had the resumption of the greatest international hockey rivalry ever between Army and RMC. And we're all grateful and appreciative of what Major Danny McLeod accomplished with RMC as a coach and administrator, as well as a man who founded youth sports. We never heard the Canadian team here sing the anthem like that. Here's Army starting 15. So many young men we're going to talk about today. Again, it is senior day here at West Point, as the Black Knights have given so much as a group, this community, to this program. For the Griffins. Again, these guys have not had a meaningful game since the third place finish nationally. Certainly grateful to have them here. It was Matt Sherman, the head coach, who was just very, very grateful to have these young men from Guelph in town for this game. He said, we're very excited to host one of Canada's top teams and appreciate them coming down. We're looking forward to the challenge that awaits, and our aim is to follow up a strong performance with another while giving the opportunity to many younger players who have earned our trust to wear the jersey and put their hand up. Kickoff temperature, 41 degrees. That's 5 Celsius. Yes, there is rain in the forecast. I do see some blue on the radar, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just means that the precipitation is here, but it's not necessarily going to fall in. This will be kicked in a touch on the far side by Ty Easton. Again, Guelph finishing third nationally. Big tournament up there that played out, I believe it was in Langley, British Columbia, which is just outside Vancouver. Army will have a line out here near midfield to basically get the first real touch of the ball game. They're able to maintain possession, and they'll try to go to work here. Pushing continues. Again, the beautiful thing about rugby is that there's no play clock. There's no first down. There's no first and 10. And this will be booted down the near side, but it gets hung up in the wind. It's a bit breezy today, too. So both teams have to watch the offsides when the ball is kicked up high. For those who are watching carefully, remember that the Shea Stadium markings are numerous here. It would appear that the red lines of the outer sides, the outer edges, are the ones that are going to be touch lines today. They're trying to make the field as wide as possible. No, this is not the mosaic in Regina, which I think extends from the entire borders of Saskatchewan. This is a smaller field than that, but that's okay. And this one is almost charged down. Gets hung up in the wind. And it's kicked forward. I think they're going to call a knockout against Army. Third minute, no score yet. As we're grateful for the officials who have given so much to this sport to make sure this game is played properly. Again, Guelph is in the Greater Golden Horseshoe in southwestern Ontario. The city itself has over 140,000 people. It does have a team in the Ontario Hockey League, but it's never won the Memorial Cup. One of the thrills I've had over the years in my professional life was getting a call from Dave Barr, who played for the Red Wings and Devils. He was running the Storm at that time, said, well, we don't have an opening, but we're glad you put in the work to set a tape here. Oliver Alp will start the scrum here for the Griffins, as you just hear both front rows clinching together. Nicely done by the Griffins, as they'll try to come upstream quickly. It comes to Thomas Dallin. Comes down to Charles Trollope. Line drive kick, that might be the smartest thing that people can do with a stiff wind today. This one gets hung up, so it looks like the Griffins are kicking with the winds at their backs right now, and Army's kicking into it. And a big play coming up here now. Almost able to get an offload as the Griffins are inside the 22, so to speak, for the first time today. Able to check it now to Owen Sterling, but Sterling is wrapped up. Briefly juggled by Adam Ford, but it's not a knock on, and hitting the deck now is Charles Trollope again. Long pass goes overhead, trying to make the catch with Seth Powell, but it's backed up. And Army must defend vigorously now, as the charge is led now by Seth Powell. Good distribution as it comes through again. The Griffins knocking on the door. It comes to Charles Trollope once more. Trollope is stopped short. Not a knock on, some long fingers keeping that play alive. Dallin. Over now for Ty Easton. It shovels well, goes off the hand of Sterling. Picked up, though, by Schultz. As the drive continues. Powell, Seth Powell, has two men taking him down. Approaching the 5-minute mark of the opening half. No points on the board yet. The Griffins have had most of the possession early on. Put some good short passes together. Dallin, he goes down as Army starting to flex its muscles and push the Griffins back. On the right side, no, great tackle. Ball, did it come out loose? No, it did not. The Griffins still with it. Good pass now for Reese Collins. He tries to drive through, but he can't. Good pass to Trollope, but he is met with resistance. The Griffins have done everything but score here in the early going. Army trying to stay tight. And a pass is finally picked up, and they'll call a knock on, I think. Army almost had an opportunity to go the other way. It's not an intentional knock on by any stretch, so they'll just set up a scrum here. But the Griffins look like they've shaken off the rust pretty quickly. It's a team that's well coached and well prepared for this environment. So what happens for Army after today? Well, it'll hit the road for the final two games of the spring season. It'll visit Mary Washington next week and then go all the way out to Arizona to take on U of A March 23rd. Expect the CRAA to announce the brackets for the D1A playoffs soon after that final game. I think Army might have to win both of those last two games on the road to get into the tournament. It might not be necessary, but who knows? I'm not on the committee. Alp will put the coin into the slot, see which way it blows, and we have a whistle. This one is going to be against Army. Someone might have been trying to pull down the scrum. It's just an infringement or a straight penalty. Yep, they've called for the tee. The Griffins will try to put some points on the board. 7th minute. No score yet. The Griffins try to change that. Thomas Dallin will have a drink. And now he wants the tee. This is not from that far away. This should be I'm not saying a gimme, but the sticks are staring right at him. He boosts that one through and almost takes out the guy in the catwalk. No extra points given, but Guelph in front 3-0 on the penalty kick by Dallin in the 8th minute. Registration continues for Army West Point Rugby Camp running July 8th through 11th. To sign up, visit ArmySportsCamps.com. Again, ArmySportsCamps.com. As we mentioned, it is senior day here at West Point, and it wasn't long ago that they had post night here. When these young men learned where they're going to have their first assignments, branch night was in the first semester, as this one is taken down by Jacob Schultz for the Griffins. He tries to go forward, but he's met with a big black wall. Ty Easton lets it fly. And right now we're back to ping pong. You can see that Army has the wind in front of it. It's a stiff wind right now at 15 miles per hour. Swirling up to 25. We've got a whistle, though. Thought I saw a signal for a high tackle, but I didn't think there was anything like that. It looks like it's just a knock-on now, and so it'll be a scrum for Army. So what is everyone doing? Where is everybody going? Alphabetical order I've got here. Trey Bartlett, Field Artillery, Fort Stewart. Browning, Bennion, Infantry, Joint Base Lewis McCord. Bill Bolt, Infantry, Fort Wainwright. Lee Cooper, Infantry, Fort Cavazos. Jake Dursky, Infantry, Fort Johnson. Matt DeFreites, Aviation, Fort Novacell. Johnny Haley, Armor, that means tanks, Fort Novacell. No, pardon me, Fort Cavazos, he's there too. Haley's going to take Armored for Cavazos. Lucas Pattinson, as we have a whistle here. It looks like somebody was pulling down the scrum again. This one will be against Army. Lucas Pattinson, Infantry, Fort Drum. People in Canada may know that Fort Drum is up near Watertown, not far away from Kingston, Ontario. Tian Moscone, Infantry, Fort Johnson. Patrick Oglesby, Signal, Vilsek in Germany. Ben Richards, Field Artillery, Fort Wainwright. Jack Simpson, Cyber, Fort Gordon. Cyber is a relatively new branch. Shane Sunday, Infantry, Fort Drum. And Dom Tianga, Infantry, Fort Liberty. Things hit differently around here. That's why the ability to compete, especially against an international opponent, is such a huge deal around here. Dowling. It now comes for Sterling. Sterling spun away. Army able to get possession. Now the long road back begins. With all the possession the Griffins have had, Army in some ways fortunate to only be down 3. Again, there's no play clock. Just got to peel off the bodies and get ready to have a good first pass out of it. Almost charged down, nice and high. It's a bit of a jump ball, and I think there'll be a knock on aplenty here. 12th minute, 3-0 Guelph. Army West Point's top priority is to create leaders prepared to fight with our nation's battles. As the world's preeminent leadership institution, the Academy focuses on producing people who exude trust, accountability, passion, integrity, and empathy. To learn more, visit GoArmyWestPoint.com. So a scrum coming up for the Griffins here. And we have a whistle. And this one is against Army again. At some point, the referee is going to have a conversation with somebody for Army that the infringements must stop. You can be carded if there is consistent and persistent violation of the rules, or as they call them, the laws of the game. Many a time during his legendary refereeing career, it was Nigel Owen who said, "The law is quite clear." As the man in yellow is now trying to explain that to everybody assembled here. Alp gets ready to put the ball into mass confusion. All the grunting continues. And the Easter egg rolls back out. Nicely done, Guelph. Looks like a team that has played recently, not so long ago, but they spilled this one. Army. They got to be opportunistic here, and this is a live ball. Army. Down in the Guelph, inside the Guelph 22 for the first time today. Now can they put some passes together and go on a run? The game's going to be played a little bit differently on the turf, but the turf is not completely dry, of course, as I do see some raindrops on the glass here in the press box at Shea. Big, mighty hit. These guys are prepared. No pads, they're not necessary. Although a guy here and there can wear a helmet. Trying to get rid of it was Manning. He did, but it goes out of bounds. And so that's the end of that. 14 minutes in. The penalty kick by Dowling has Guelph in front 3-0. You can use Twitter to keep up with the latest news information about the Army West Point men's rugby team. The handle is Army WP_MRugby. Again, Army WP_MRugby on Twitter. So we get set for a line out here. The line out was revolutionized by somebody who graduated from West Point, but people know him more as a football player. Pete Dawkins, when he went to Oxford, he was the first guy that really started throwing it overhand. Little known fact, he was recruited as a quarterback here. But he ended up having to settle for running back, and that turned out to be a pretty good move for everybody. Also played hockey here, too. Was an offensive puck-moving defenseman. Nice distribution is Army with a couple of offloads. And now an open run coming down the near side. And did he score? Yes, he did! Charlie Rolick. No, pardon me. Jacob Bottarini. Bottarini was able to come down the near side, able to a couple of good runs. Bottarini puts Army in front. Out of nowhere against the run of play. It all started at midfield. A couple of nice offloads, but a misdirection. And the Black Knights able to take the lead where Guelph has basically hogged the ball for the entirety of the match. Now the conversion, which is not going to be an easy one because of the angle. Yep, the game's the same way everywhere. You have to convert from where it was dotted down in the in-goal area. And now the referee's telling everybody for the Griffins to back off. It's up and it's good. Kieran Murray puts that one in. Army, despite Guelph's good play in the early going, in front 7-3. I told people we were going to have a great game today, and I get a sense that it's going to live up to the hype. The Army West Point Athletic Association and West Point Association of Graduates say the initial private funding to break ground this spring of the Mikey Stadium Preservation Project is secure. The project will modernize the East Stands. Expected completion now slated for summer 2026. Fans will remain welcome at Mikey over that time. For more information, please please visit MikeyStadium.com. This one is kicked into touch. As the wind still causing a problem for Army with a kicking game. If the wind stays this way and it stays in this direction, then when the team switch ends for the second half, Army will be certainly cooking more than just gas. Important line out here as the Griffins look like they know their business well on that front. Taken out of bounds, trying to drive through is Evan Easton, but he is stopped. Army trying to stay solid on the line. As it's now chipped forward. Is there somebody back to get it? It's rolling and rolling and rolling, and the Black Knights have to get rid of it. And a huge tackle on the near side. Ball came loose. It was not a forward pass, so play continues. Manning among those involved for Army, trying to drive forward. Look like Isaac Gamboa. No, pardon me, it's actually Luke Leach on the bottom there. Now it's Mitchell Campbell's turn to be the last man. Seth Powell forcing the issue for the Griffins. Good movement again. That time's Elijah Manges at the bottom for Army. Army slowing the game down a little bit. That's okay. Now we've got a whistle. And this one will be against Guelph. It looks like somebody for Guelph was trying to pull things down or keep things down again as we're hitting the midway point of this first half. Guelph had all that possession in the early going. Only came away with a penalty kick from Thomas Dowland. Army, with a great individual effort and a couple of offloads at the back, able to get a try from Jacob Bottarini. They lead 7-3. So Army gets some distance off the kick here, and I'll try to get back to work. Dom Tianga. Boy, are they going to miss him. So many of these young men have given so much to this program. And you realize how short life is at West Point. It's 47 months. That's why number 47 is so important. Batted away. And here come the Griffins, and it's kicked out of bounds immediately by Alp. Well, that didn't last long. So Army will try again. Impressed with what the Griffins have done again. That tournament was in the fall. And the research I did, I couldn't find a match that they've played since then. They've been in great shape. Something else about this Guelph roster. They don't come from all over Canada. This is an entirely Ontario roster. Some come from Guelph, some come from Greater Toronto, some come from other places of the province. But most of these guys are homegrown. Guelph also has the city itself, a couple of good junior programs, including the Junior Griffins. Yeah, rugby's a big deal in Canada. So another scrum coming up for the Griffins as Alp will put it back into play. 18 minutes left in the opening half. Army in front 7-3. Visit Army West Point Authentic, where you can shop for Black Knight memorabilia. Get there by heading to ArmyWestPointAuthentic.com. Also follow its Twitter account at AWP_memorabilia. Shifted back as this one is spilled, and that's going to go against the Griffins. I think there's a slight protest that he says it went off my leg, but the ref says I'm right there. It went off your fingers too. So a scrum at midfield for Army. A lot to like so far in this game from both teams. Again, Army trying to get better with every single touch of the ball. The goal is to be playing beyond what the regular season schedule shows. It was Jacob Bottarini who scored the try, who said before this game that the game against Cal was a huge step forward for the team. They played very well as a collective unit, and hopefully they can carry it over this week. Called this game a great opportunity for a lot of younger guys to put their hand up and show their talent. And it looks like this will be against the Griffins. Or at the very least, the Griffins get another chance as the front row gets a conversation from the referee. It was Bottarini who also said we plan on taking a great step forward in the team's progression with this game, as well as furthering the depth of the finishers group. So they're trying to get deeper. This one pops free. And, well, no, Manges is told by the referee, come back here. He didn't just knock it forward. It looked like he actually tossed it forward like making a chest pass in basketball. Hot potato. As the referee is getting set for their scrum for the Griffins. Speaking of Mikey Stadium, update from there. Army men's lacrosse, in one of the polls of the country, ranked second in the country, now leading Holy Cross 9-4, halfway through the second quarter. What a start to the season those guys have had. Road wins against Rutgers and Syracuse, also beat UMass to start the season down in Atlanta. Alp gets it back and starts the way back machine once more. Here comes Dowlin, but he's knocked down at midfield as Army being strong defensively again. Army get it back, though, as the Griffins just not able to put that together like they were earlier. With some good tackling as well. Now they slowly get to midfield as Army just trying to secure the ball. Take some time off that clock. Has the possession of their own. Now they kick it away. Again, there's no play clock in rugby, so you can do that. As the Griffins will start again just inside their 22. Getting rid of this one will be Dowlin. Line drive as Army will get possession once more. No kick here, though. Diving forward is Joe Manning as he's just trying to get some more territory for Army as Bottarini gets a couple of more yards here. Isaac Gamboa doing some tap dancing here with the ball. As it shifted back once more, Army focusing on possession at the moment, trying to get themselves a break defensively. They did a lot of defending in the early going, and now this one looks like it's going against Army. Not releasing the ball, so Guelph will get it back here. Under 13 minutes left of the opening half. 7-3, Army in front. Most Army West Point teams play in the Patriot League. For conference news, the latest and scheduling information, visit patriotleague.org. Again, patriotleague.org. Evan Easton, I think, is having a conversation with the assistant right now. Seth Powell offers him some advice. And now Seth is going to go in and see how this is going to run out for the Griffins. Almost taken away, but a good catch made by Sterling down on the near side. Easton able to work it back. As Dallin tries to drive through, but he's taken down. And we've got a whistle. And this one's going against the Griffins. Thought I saw somebody come in from the side there. Clock continues running an Army in no hurry. Focusing on possession right now and not having to defend as much as they did in the early going. Joe Manning. Looks like for a moment he doesn't have much wind to deal with. Then it kicks up the last second. As he'll make the catch is Jacob Schultz. Army able to find the hot potato and get rid of it and try to play some field position. Boy, kicked up again by Ty Easton. Wind at his back and having to go back and get it is Manning. Fakes the kick as he still got it. Every sport has the nuances and intricacies to make you appreciate it, and that was certainly something. It blinked right, turned left. Gamboa trying to dig it out, looking for it. He says, come here, and the referee's saying, no, none of that. The referee, I think, have been very, very patient with Gamboa back there with the head fakes and whatnot, and I think he finally said enough's enough. So what's the conversation going to be like here? How many options do the Griffins have here? Looks like it's just going to be a scrum. I did not see an indication of a straight penalty, so I didn't think there was going to be a kick here. Keep in mind that Army West Point athletes are not just cadet athletes, but also Warrior Scholars. Army represents Warrior, and West Point represents Scholar. To separate, they would take away the purpose of the U.S. Military Academy. They come together as one to outsmart the enemy. So here we go with a scrum again as the Griffins looking to regain the lead before halftime. Almost picked off, but the catch is made instead by Brendan Black as the Griffins continue to drive forward. Matthew Breen is put off. The Griffins clearly had some adrenaline at the start of the game, but maybe the fact they haven't... Wait a second. This one will be against Army. That might have been forward. The Griffins had some great energy at the start of the game. Had all the possession. Maybe the adrenaline's worn off a little bit. Maybe now we're starting to see the side of a team that had a great fall, but hasn't done much as far as competition since then, at least not officially. Critical line out, more ways than one coming up here. Down on the other side of the field, out of your picture, we have the Griffins reserves starting to get loosened up here, as there might be some changes coming for that second half, maybe before halftime here. But this is a big play coming up. It's dropped. Can Army find it? Now they've got it. But can they get out of the shadow of their own sticks? Is trying to drive forward as Manges. Belly crawling continues. Yes, that's the name of the game around here. Is on the bottom is Bottarini. Now it's shifted forward. And we've got another whistle. Looks like we've got another scrum coming up. You can buy season tickets for Army Lacrosse that start at just $30. Visit GoArmyWestPoint.com to make purchases. Late first half, Army still leading Holy Cross by a score of 9-4. So an Army scrum here is they're basically going to try to get some field position. Be very surprised they didn't try to kick it once they get it out of harm's way. Off the side of the foot, but it still gets the job done. Yep, the ball wants to come back into play, but once it's out, it's out. Briefly out of mind of its own there. If Army is able to have the lead at halftime, it'll be a remarkable thing when you consider the energy that Guelph had and the sheer possession they've had, too. Clearly a team with a lot of skill, but Army, you're taught firstly and foremostly to defend around here. That goes well beyond the sport of rugby. Evan Easton will get ready to toss this one back in. Touched away, but Army must rescue it. Campbell able to find it. And now Gamboa has to go forward. He's brought down by Adam Ford. Shoulder against shoulder. Bottarini against Trollope. As Bottarini's not done yet. Gamboa trying to extend things as long as he can again. Gets rid of it. Nice and high, but the wind hangs up. Went off some hands and was waiting for a knock-on to be called, but it never came. So the Griffins get control again. Good passing here on the right side, but Army able to intercept. High in the air it goes again. For the moment, the wind appears to have subsided a bit. As we're inside 4 minutes left here in the opening half. Has not been pretty at times, but it's been fun to watch these two teams just go toe-to-toe with each other, shoulder to shoulder. So another line out for the Griffins. Army has done a good job defending these today. Right now for the Griffins, you only need one to take the lead into the locker room. Or at the very least, off the field, where, boy, I hope they have the ability to stay warm during halftime today, because this wind is starting to pick up again. It's tolerable when the wind doesn't blow, but when it starts kicking up again, it's about 15 miles an hour. It definitely starts to chill you a bit. Another solid tackle. Army has been physical today. Here comes Trollope. He secures the ball. I think Rowland was among those involved in the tackle. Nice and high. Catch is made. Now can Army go forward? Gamboa gets rid of it. Making a catch is Ty Easton. He is wrestled down immediately as TJ Rotello was able to say hello. Another big kick. Wind at their backs. Second half, I expect to be different. Gamboa. Here comes out. He trusts it back to Easton. Ty Easton. Long kick down the far side of the field. Takes a couple of bounces and goes out. As the temperature warmed up from the start of the game, it was 41, I think, at the start. It has not. The forecast again was that the temperature was going to hold steady. But the good news is the rain has not made that much of an impact on what's going on in the field or in the bleachers. Army just trying to take care of the ball right now. 30 seconds left in the half. Did Gamboa do tap growing up as a child? Got rid of it. The Griffins looking to have something happen, making Army play the ball here. It's overrun and regained and kicked out of bounds as I think that was Manning looking at the scoreboard, realizing they were all zeros. There's no siren here. He kicks it into touch, and Army. This is not how I thought the scoreline would necessarily read after the Griffins had all that good possession early, but the Black Knights have a 7-3 lead at the half here on Senior Day at Shea Stadium. Well, looks like we've got a special presentation going on during halftime, so we'll throw it down to the field.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to direct your attention to the 50-yard line for a special ceremony in which we honor former Army West Point men's rugby team administrator Gene McIntyre. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to midfield for a special presentation to recently retired Army men's rugby administrator Gene McIntyre. Gene has been a part of the West Point community for nearly 39 years and a part of the Army men's rugby program for the last 10 years, serving as the team administrator. A class of 1979 grad, Gene played on the Army football team, earning 2 varsity letters. Following graduation, he served 13 years in the Army, both in the United States and overseas, earning the rank of major. Gene has served in a variety of roles in the athletic department, including as the men's rugby team administrator, as well as the department's director of recruiting and admission support. On behalf of the United States Military Academy, Army West Point Athletics, and the Army Men's Rugby Program, thank you, Gene, for your service. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Gene McIntyre.
As I often say when I talk about how this place works, it really does take a village. Everybody does their part, and for Gene McIntyre, 31 years in athletics here at West Point, 13 years of active duty in the Army, has been the director of admission support and associate AD since 1998. So he was the athletic department's representative in the admissions committee and helped the recruitment of prospective cadet athletes for all the intercollegiate sports, not just rugby. And yes, he was a sports supervisor, which for those in Canada who aren't familiar how this works, he's not a GM. He's much more than that. He did everything for both rugby teams here at West Point, and that's somebody who everybody is going to miss, not just in rugby, but across the athletic department. We wish Gene well, but I somehow think since he's still going to live in Cornwall, at least from what I understand, I don't think he'll ever be truly far away from this place. Army leading Guelph 7-3 at the half. The Cadets are returning for the second half. They've got work to do, so do the Griffins. The Cadets have played well, especially defensively, to keep the Griffins out of the end goal area. Army with a 7-3 lead. Penalty kick in the 8th minute from Thomas Dolan. That made it 3-0, and it felt like Guelph might have had a lot of momentum. But again, the Griffins finishing bronze in the fall University Championships north of the border. No meaningful competition since then. Army was able to right the rudder midway through the first half, getting a great individual effort, a try from Jacob Bottarini that basically came out of the middle of nowhere. That's why they're in front right now. Army should look for possession here in the second half, try to get more of it, not have to defend so much. Here's the key thing. In the first half, the Griffins had the wind at their back. Army will have that luxury here in the second. Just a reminder, the athletic department of the U.S. Military Academy has its own Twitter account. Follow Go Army West Point for latest information on Black Knight teams, as well as highlights and content you won't find anywhere else. Again, Go Army West Point on Twitter. And so it looks like we might be having some substitutions to open the second half. If we can get the names, we'll pass it along to you. Normally allowed 7 or 8, but given this is an exhibition between international teams, don't know how many are going to be allowed by each team today. As Guelph will get ready to kick off. Again, Guelph, among the best in Canada at this level. Finished third in this year's competition after rolling through the OUA. Lost to UBC in the semis, beat Memorial for the bronze. Army, that big win against Cal last week. A lot of emotion. Again, for those who don't know the story, they were able to honor Stephen R. Dwyer Jr., who graduated from here in 2009, died in November when his helicopter went down over the Mediterranean during refueling training. So much emotion, so much to unpack from that game. Of all the teams here at the U.S. Military Academy, few are more closely knit than this one. We know that football gets all the big praise and attention, but these guys are really close too. Gamboa gets ready. This one's charged down, but he's able to fall on it immediately. So the Griffins are onto them now. We'll see if they do something different. Somebody had gone through for Army, has to get back on side. It was Rolink. And so the Black Knights continue to push forward. Again, the beauty of this sport, there's no play clock. Whether it's third down north of the border, fourth down here, or fifth tackle in the Southern Hemisphere, you just keep going. They don't have any of that stuff. Gamboa gets rid of this one. And so the Griffins get back to work. Big, big tackle as Army continues on here. Wind continues to be a factor. It's still blowing. Continue to pound through is Trollope. That's a big guy over there. Army being quick as the Griffins now have to go into that stiff wind. The passing that they enjoyed, the quick, crisp passes early on, that might not be part of the scheme now, and this one is going to be blown dead. It looked like Army's on the verge of charging one down, but the answer was no, so the Griffins get a reprieve. Again, what is left for Army after this game? They've got a couple more on the road. They'll visit Mary Washington next week and then go to Arizona to play U of A on March 23rd. And then the CRAA will likely announce the brackets for the D1A playoffs soon after that final game, if they don't before then. Remember that competing as varsity athletes helps cadets learn how to win in the battlefield. Athletics instills tenacity, resilience, discipline, mental and physical toughness, and the desire to excel. Grit and perseverance are the same things that build winning platoon leaders and company commanders when cadets graduate from here. As the referee is smiling before this big, important lineup takes place, or actually, pardon me, now I know why there's a delay. There's somebody for the Griffins who's in discomfort on the far side of the field. I imagine he'll add on some time at the end here, as both teams still having a chat. Again, the beautiful thing about this sport is that the rugby community on a worldwide basis is very, very close-knit. That might have been Seth Powell, who's up and around now, ready to go. Army will intercept to the line out. Big play. And running down the field. Shirt getting yanked, but that's part of the game. Tackle made by Trollope as the Black Knights have something cooking here. Thrown back over now for Kieran Murray. He tries to go forward, but he can't. The attack continues. Army, still possession. Just take care of the ball. Be patient if you're the Black Knights right now. Manning on the far side. And now we've got a whistle. Now it looks like this one is going to go against Army, so the Griffins will get it back here. Smile to the referee from Seth Powell. Charles Trollope in there as well. Low-scoring game. The battle for field position will continue here. As this one's sent all the way down. You notice the track here. This is where Army has most, if not all, of its outdoor track and field events. The indoor ones are still taking place inside Gillis Fieldhouse, which is across the meadow here, which is intercepted by the softball complex. Yes, it was in Gillis Fieldhouse that Coach K played basketball all those years ago. Sterling pulls this one down. As Army just continuing to push and push and push back. And we've got a whistle. As the referee signals Army pulling down again. Not the first time whistle for that today. This one gets hung up in the wind a little bit, but it does not stay in play. And so the Griffins will be roughly 10 yards away from the in-goal area and a chance to take the lead back. We're about to see some great skill here. The driving continues. Army able to push back enough. Nice offload at Kane DeBreen. He tries to go forward, but he can't. Down low it went. Trump able to fall on it. Now it came for Powell. As the Griffins just trying to load up and drive forward, trying to overpower the Black Knights. We got power against power, though. Good offload here. Ty Easton He's close. Looking to dot down. He's basically inside the one right now. In a cave. No signal yet. Referee says no, not yet. Hook back. It's dropped. It's loose. Army will get rid of it. And a knockout is called. Wait a minute. I don't think so. For a second, I thought I was knocked ahead. They've called something else against Army. Did somebody come in from the side? That's the only thing I can think of. Not totally sure. I saw some hands get on the ball, and instead the Griffins get it back. This will be kicked in a touch, and so set up a line out right around the 5-yard line. Yes, I know that's not something normally here in a rugby match. Yards instead of meters, but that's the hand we've been dealt today. Again, the field has not recovered at Anderson Rugby Complex from last week's tremendous win by Army over Cal, their first ever against the Golden Bears. The field, from what I understand, looks like the battlefield at Gettysburg. Evan Easton tosses it in. The Griffins secure the ball as they try to push and push and push. Can somebody get it down? Or can Army hold it? No, they score! It might have been Evan Easton who got the job done as the Griffins regain the lead. Pure adrenaline, pure muscle, as the Griffins are up by 1. And now the question becomes, can they convert here and make it a 3-point game again? Thomas Dahlen will attempt a conversion here, made a penalty kick back in the 8th minute. Wind is relatively calm at the moment, but again, he's kicking into something that's not supposed to be there. In gridiron football, this will be a 30-yard field goal, but he's at an odd angle. And it's just wide, no good. It didn't come back enough for him, so Guelph only in front by a single point. There have been some parts of this match that have not been pretty, but it's been close, and we're going to have a lot of fun, I think, here in the last half hour of this one. Army West Point Director of Athletics Mike Buddy's announced a strategic plan called Fruits of Victory. This plan seeks to provide cadet athletes the opportunity to succeed as students and as athletes while molding them into exceptional leaders and officers of the U.S. Army. For more information on the Fruits of Victory, please visit GoArmyWestPoint.com. The Griffins will try to come all the way back again as the hitting continues with some good force. Trying to waltz forward is Trollope, but he's met by a lot of resistance in black. Another kick, and Army get it right back. Manning comes on the near side. Good tackle. Ball comes loose, though, now for Murray. Murray tries to reverse everything. But the Griffins are on him. Up and over they go. Army will maintain possession. No kick yet. They hope they don't have to, but they do have the win at their back here in the second half. Luke South. Runs in it now for Elijah Manges. Manges able to roll and keep rolling. Rolling. More good tackling. The Griffins want a whistle, and it looks like they'll get one. Or are they? No, they're not. It's going to go against them. Did somebody not roll away? Well, the way the Griffins reacted initially, I thought this was going against Army, and it's been that kind of a day for Army. They've had some more whistles against them than against the Griffins. So here's the question. Is this a makeable kick? Would Army try to get points on the board and regain the lead? Yep. They'll take the shot here. This is not a gimme. Big moment in this match now. Roughly 35 yards away. Kieran Murray has a conversion today. It's long enough. It's good. Army regains the lead. For those who are new to the sport, this ball is definitely not a football you find in the fields like these in the U.S. and Canada. It's a different animal altogether. And on particularly cold days in the snow, it feels like you're kicking a bowling ball. But Kieran Murray on that PK in the 55th minute has given Army the lead again. It is 10-8. And now we've got a whistle on the play from their knock-on. Another scrum coming up for the Griffins. The front rows have gotten to know each other pretty well today. There's been a lot of this. Hasn't quite been smash mouth, but it has been a very physical game. And I think that has actually helped Army here, especially with conditions not ideal. You'd think that by being on post, it's an automatic home game for Army, as we have a whistle here, as it looks like the referee does not believe that the front rows are cooperating as they should. But again, Army does not normally play its matches here, so there's some adjustments to make, being on a turf field in a different environment. So they'll try again. Grateful for the coaches that have these young men trained properly, not just physically, but with technique to form this scrum properly. The ball makes it through the scrum as the Griffins try to attack again. Army on it, getting physical and physical again and again. Comes to Collins. Evan Easton, who just scored the try for the Griffins. Army continuing to push back, but the Griffins looking for a lane on the far side. Ball bounces. Army gets control of it. They'll now try to, at the very least, take some time off that big clock. 23 minutes left. And a reminder to everybody, when Army and Cal played last week, we got a whistle, as this one is going to go against the Griffins. A reminder that while the margin of victory is 13 against Cal, nobody scored in the final 22 minutes, as Cal was struggling with cold and muddy conditions on the field. We have not reached that extreme here today, but you get a sense that Army, based on the success they had last week, has no problem slowing the game down and just hanging on to that ball as long as they can here. But the 2-point lead is much more precarious than the margin of 13 they had against Cal at the end. Ping pong continues. Was it saved? Army says it was, but they don't get a vote here. Check out the official online store of Army West Point. You can browse a complete selection of officialized apparel and merchandise by visiting shop.gourmetsports.com. Again, shop.gourmetsports.com. Lineout coming up for Army. It's bobbled. Can it be saved this time? Yes, it is. As the pushing will continue here. Now we have an escapee as it's run downfield quickly. Malik Burchett with a good run here as Army putting some passes together. Rottello tries to escape, but Breen hauls him down. Now things have sped up a little bit. Rottello again. Wants that ball. Doesn't come to him though. Shifted for Gamboa. Gamboa looks for help. He's taken down. Good tackle by Josh Everett. We've got a whistle, though. And this one will be against Guelph. Looks like it might have been a high tackle. The referee has called a lot of things, I think, today, but he's been consistent. Beautiful thing about being a rugby referee, you're not just the referee, you are a classroom teacher, you're a headmaster. Everybody's learning something today. As Army will get set here for another line out. They've had success in this part of the game today. And the referee is still making adjustments. It's like playing with the furniture in the living room. The couch has to go there so the recliner can kick out properly. That looked like the final scene of the Mary Tyler Moore show. It didn't go into the end goal area, though, but Army still in possession, trying to build on this lead. They led by 4 at the half. Again, the big thing for Army is secure the ball, take more time off the clock. And we've got a whistle. Looks like somebody did not roll away for the Griffins, and now the question becomes, does Army take the points, try to kick here? Isaac Gamboa has worked very, very hard today. And it looks like we've got another penalty kick coming up here. This will be a chip shot compared to the last one. Army with an opportunity to go up by 5 here. Kieran Murray again. Odd angle. And he missed it. He definitely hit with enough pace, but it did not go through the big sticks. And Guelph, that's a break for them. Sometimes those sticks can just wave at you and stick out their tongues. So that's a miss here in the 63rd minute. As soon as I saw him line up over there, I had a feeling that this might not end well. Guelph will kick it away to midfield. Army will have possession, start over again. Gamboa. Now for Murray, who is playing with some adrenaline now, looking to atone for what just happened. Share the ball and be responsible with it if you're Army. Here comes Rotello. Rotello looking to push it back, and it flew out of his hands. Maybe he was better off just eating it and being tackled. Try to force it. It didn't end well. The Black Knight Buddies make up the official kids club of Army West Point Athletics, open to kids 13 and under, with family-friendly benefits aimed to please all ages. More information, please visit goarmywestpoint.com/tickets and click on the Black Knight Buddies button. Army intercepts that one. The lineouts have been where Army has made a lot of bones today. This one is kicked downfield by South. Did it go off one of the Griffins out of bounds? I think the AR says yes. That's a huge break for Army. And suddenly Pandora's box is cracked. I hope those guys are warm. Checking Mikey Stadium, men's lacrosse for Army, leading Holy Cross 17-7 late in the third quarter. Army outscoring Holy Cross in the third 8-3. Important line out here. Can Army secure the ball? They do. We've got a whistle, though. Looks like another scrum's about to form. Yes, it has not been pretty at times. Remember, even a Picasso sells for $1 million in auction. Both teams are going to need ice bags, and this one is over with. Lots of scrums today. The choir is still in tune, but they're probably very cold right now. It doesn't pop out. Griffins still in control. Trollope rolls forward, but doesn't go far. Almost charged down. It gets hung up in the wind, and now the Griffins dealing with the same things the Black Knights did in the first half. When play was going the way, ball is spilled, and that's going to be a knock-on. As that ball had a mind of its own. Or was it a forward pass? Either way, that ball did something that I don't think the Black Knights were hoping it would do in that instance. I think that was Trollope getting a slap in the back. Yep, sometimes you drive the truck, he's the truck. Can Army derail him? As Alp gets ready to put the coin back into the slot one more time. It's kicked low and hard. It's spilled. Knock on, yes. And that's a tough break. Noah Sanchez, I think the ball might have had a last-second move off the turf. The Griffins have been handed the opportunity to take the lead back here. There'll be a scrum 10 yards from the end goal area. And the subs continue on. Some fresh horses involved, but are they thoroughbreds? Will it be a speedster that decides this one? Both teams have given a lot of muscle and hustle today. 12 minutes left. Army leads Guelph 10-8. Tap by Alp. Looks to get it back. He has it. Shifted. Good distribution. We've got a whistle. It's a forward pass. Oh, that was close. Those of you know that we're at Shea. I'm not at midfield. I'm basically right where that was. That was close. And so Army gets a huge break here. That takes more time off the clock. I remind everybody that the referee is the ultimate timekeeper. There was a bit of a delay. I think early in the second half, it might have been Seth Powell or Charles Trott was one of the props for the Griffins, who was slow to get up for a minute or two. So there might be some time added on here. But the clock you see right there, that's what's left on the scoreboard right now. Army fans should have to work hard to find other Army fans. You can use Facebook to connect with fellow supporters of the Black Knights. Will be up to date with athletic events on post. Check it out at Go Army West Point. Again, Go Army West Point on Facebook. The Griffins using the muscle to get the ball back. Kick forward, but it's going to roll out of bounds. Not a bad decision by Alp, but he kicked it too hard. Well, despite the few points on the board, we've seen a little bit of everything today, haven't we? We've got 10 minutes left. Wait a second. It looks like there's been a penalty assessed to Army, and the Griffins will get a chance to kick for the lead here. I didn't think I saw anything unusual there. But the Griffins will have a chance, and it's going to be from a relatively safe spot here. Thomas Dallin, who had a PK in the 8th minute, missed the conversion after Easton's try because he was basically trying to kick from what might have been Guelph. Will have a chance to give the Griffins the lead here late. Like a college football extra point here. It's up, it's good. The Griffins in front by a single point. The Army fans want to know what the call was. I don't blame them. So it's 11-10. The Griffins in front. As Army will kick it fairly deep and just try to play field position right now. Hoping the Griffins make a mistake that might give Kieran Murray one last kick here. Put it away by the Griffins, and we'll see what posture they adopt here. Again, they took home the bronze in their national championship tournament, but that was back in the fall. They really haven't played since then. It's been a remarkable test for both teams today. Army trying to get better for the stretch run, hoping they can win a couple of games on the road and sneak into the CRAAs potentially. Guelph has not played since the fall. Again, it has been pretty at times, but both teams, I really believe, have left it all out here today in less than ideal conditions. Off some fingertips. Regathered. No knock-on signal, so Army still a possession. Again, this is rugby, not football. There's no play clock. If Army wants to take the time that is left on that scoreboard and have this be their final possession, in theory, they can do that. But it's hard to maintain possession for that long. As will be brought forward by Bertello again. Can Guelph stand tall here? A sudden pass. No knock on. Army, wait a second. Now we've got a whistle. This one is going to be against Guelph. Army will maintain possession. 7 minutes left. And now we've got a stoppage here. Oh my goodness. I think Kieran Murray wants to kick from here. Wow. Well, the wind is swirling a bit, not Giant Stadium, but I'm a little bit surprised he's taking the shot here. Now, he missed earlier, but it was from a bad angle. We'll take a shot here and see what happens here. This is going to basically be like a 50-yard field goal. He's about the 40-yard line. Now, the good news is he's between the hashes. Wind is calm now. Army trying to take the lead. Kieran Murray from a long ways away. It's long enough. Just missed it. Just missed it, not by much. If the bleachers were full and that went through, this place would have been roaring. Five minutes left on the scoreboard at least. There may be more time than that based on the referee's watch, based on the fact the clock did not stop when one of the props for the Griffins needed attention earlier here in the second half. But Army will get another chance here. It's bobbled. No knock-on given. Play will continue. Wait a second. Now we got to stop, and they will whistle it down after the fact. So a scrum coming up for Guelph here. Scrum for Guelph. Feels like I've said that a lot today. 4:25 left on the clock. Again, the points have not been many, and it's been a little bit jumbled a little bit. Lots of sweaty clinches in the scrums. You don't really find in the prize fighting ring, but it has been fun to watch on many levels today. Imagine what kind of game we would have gotten if the weather was better. Most Darby West Point teams play in the Patriot League. You can follow the official Twitter account of the Patriot League on ESPN, the home for live Patriot League games and highlights, as well as Patriot League Productions, features, and interviews. Twitter.com/Patriot League TV. Again, Twitter.com/Patriot League TV. It bounces almost like a bump in volleyball. It's put back, and now the Griffins get rid of it again. Some good hustle with 3:18 left on the clock. 11-10 Guelph. Army looking to knock off the bronze medalist in Canadian competition this year. But Guelph, despite not having played in a while, has looked pretty good. Shift it back again. Trying to offload was Murray. Did find somebody. Attack met by resistance. The hitting continues. Everybody yelling down on the field. Get up, move your feet. Everybody's moving it right now. Is that knocked ahead? We'll see if advantage is given, and now it's not. Does Murray get another chance here? Two minutes left on the clock. Again, how much will the referee add at the end of this one? Yep, he's looking at his watch. He says there are 3 minutes left. By the way, make sure you wind your watches forward when you go to bed tonight. Unless you're in Arizona or Hawaii. The train rolls by to add support. We're going to have one final kick, aren't we? Is that how this one's going to end? For now, though, it looks like it's just a scrub. As it would appear that Evan Easton, who's had a pretty good game for Guelph, is getting some attention for the moment. So the clock has stopped with 1:53 left. This is supposed to be an exhibition, but it does have the feel of an Army RMC hockey game. It's been that fun today. And I hope that these guys from Guelph come back here someday because it's been a joy to have them here. Somebody said go visit us. I have no problem with that. And there's a whistle against Army. I'm not sure what for. Pulling down. Mounting, okay. So, Guelph gets it back. And the referee's the ultimate timekeeper here. The clock is running. They're down to $1:45. And now it looks like they've been given 10 meters or 10 yards. So the ball's going to be at midfield. Army has defended lineouts well today. So they're not in a bad place. But this one is secured well. Collins able to get it in. Able to escape a couple of shoestring tackles. Powell driving forward. The Griffins, with about a minute left, trying to grind out a win that will be well earned. Army needs a turnover, needs the Griffins to make a mistake. As long as Army has the ball by the time the last of the 80 is off the clock, they've got a chance to win. But the Griffins just trying to mind the store. It's closing time. Evan East at the bottom of that pile somewhere. Time ticking away. This has been fun. Let's see how it ends. The scoreboard's about to hit 0. We'll see if the referee truly says 1 minute left. I think that finger he just put up says 1 minute. In the NFL, to the college game, or the CFL, this will be kneel down time. This is not the same thing in rugby. And we got a whistle. And this one's going against the Griffins, I think. So Army gets one final chance. Seconds to play. It would not be a miracle, but Army's going to need to get something done in the final possession here. They'll get it downfield, about midfield, and set up a line out. It's been about reflection today. All the firsties graduating. They know where they're going. They know what they'll be doing. but they're saying they're not done yet. Army will have 2 more road games after this game today. And they hope to find the way to get into the national tournament. It's spilled, though. Kicking it in a touch is Evan Easton. Is it over? Yes, it is. The Griffins will survive and beat Army 11-10. Three cheers, sincere or otherwise. I think you can see it both ways. The Griffins, though, able to squeak out a nail-biter. Army did some things right, but the Griffins' experience as a national caliber team in Canada might have saved them at the end here. Kieran Murray with a couple of misses down the stretch, one from about 50 yards away that looked like it just sailed wide. Army getting a try in the first half from Jacob Bottarini after a penalty kick from Thomas Dowland had put them in front. But Evan Easton gets a try in the 50th minute, and that was all Guelph needed as far as putting the in-goal area. They get a couple of kicks from Dowland to go in as well. Guelph of Ontario, bronze medalist in Canada, squeaks out an 11-10 victory over Army today. Again, the Black Knights will have 2 final regular season games. They might need to win them both in order to get into the D1A playoffs at the end. Mary Washington next week. And then Arizona. Out in Arizona, March 23rd. Expect the CRAA to announce the brackets of the D1A playoffs soon after that final game. Unlikely that Army gets a home game in the tournament should it make it, I think, because it would be on merit. And if you've seen Anderson Rugby Complex, the field, they might not necessarily want to play there until that field is in better shape. Reflection, great rugby, and now it's time to go home. On behalf of Ryan Panny, the Assistant Director for Live Events at Army West Point Athletics, I'm Nikolai Busko. Thank you for watching today's broadcast here on Night Vision of the Army West Point Athletics YouTube channel.